Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Class 1A podcast. My name is Andrew Nimsgren, and this week we are going to be doing our very first Path to the Top episode, where we're going to pick a character and figure out how to turn them into a top 10 hero, with this one being Denki Kaminari. But before we get to that, Dylan, how you doing today? How you feeling? Excited to go through this.
Yeah, I really like the concept for this episode, so I'm really excited. And no spoilers, but I think Denki might be one of my favorite characters after this one.
Really? So just the research, like, is theoretical Denki your favorite character, or is Denki your favorite character now?
The idea of Kaminari is probably my favorite.
I had a feeling it would be that. But before we get into all of that, just want to remind everyone here that if you're on YouTube watching that, make sure to comment, like the video, subscribe, all that. It means the world to us. It really helps the channels grow. We're putting out a lot more content now and have even more coming down the road. So it would mean the world if you are following and turning on notifications for every single time a new video goes out. And also, if you're listening to us on podcasting platforms, um, leaving 5-star reviews, telling your friends about us, making sure to download the episodes, all those help as well. Again, I said this 1,000 times. I think most podcasts say this too, but we're making the content for you guys. So hearing your feedback is also the world to us. So emailing us at contact@popped.com, DMing us anywhere, twitter.com/class1apod. It all means the world to us. We interact when you really want to get your feedback as well and give suggestions for future episodes. But with that said, let's get into how this episode's actually going to work. So for those of you that don't remember or don't know, how the Japanese hero billboards work is that they're based off of 3 different categories, and you get ranked from 1 to whatever off of that. The 3 main categories are going to be cases solved, general popularity, and then level of society contribution. So we are going to take Kaminari as a person and his quirks. So we're not taking the quirk away. Them as a whole person and how fitting into three categories, we can make him a top 10. Maybe some people we turn into a top 1, 2, or 3, but for the most case, we're just trying to slip them into the top 10 in whatever way we can. So before we start throwing out our wild ideas, let's talk a little bit about Kaminari, his quirk, his weaknesses, whatever we kind of want about that Dylan, and then we can see how to turn him into a much better version of himself, basically. So his quirk is electrification, which it gives him the ability to charge in electricity and emit it out of his body, pretty much as a protective aura right now. But you can pretty much use it as a taser as well. We know that his main weakness right now is 2 things. One, he can't really shoot it in any way, and 2, if he uses too much of it, he goes into, I don't know, dumb Kaminari mode, whatever you want to call it. He
He,
goes
he
in.
short he short circuits his brain is specifically what it
Yeah,
is.
that's what it is. So with that, if he uses too much of it in any way he can, but we've also seen him being able to do things such as charging phones, all that. So it's a general electricity quirk that anything you do with electricity, you could do with his quirk. And he has found a simple way of shooting projectiles to help direct the electricity out of his body and use it kind of more as an offensive version. Is there anything else you want to really add? I mean, we know his quirk is pretty straightforward with electrification. What else about the character do we want to talk about?
Well, so I want to talk about his quirk because there is something that kind of already helps with his like aura of electricity. He does have that support item that like shoots the disc forward, and
Yeah.
he can kind of make an arc with it. So it does kind of already kind of shoot in a general area, kind of laying out like all the stuff he has. And then also he has like the earpiece, the comms earpiece. I don't know if that will play into it at all, but he also has that as a disposal currently.
And it was actually something we brought up in the traders episode a while back. Is that why he could have been one of it? But it does allow him to do long range communications because when he was at the USJ attack, he wanted to try to signal back to school, which I'm assuming was a couple miles away, based on how long it took Ida to get there, and had to be someone quick to get there, and they had to take a bus. So it is long range communication, which is also something that we could take into it. Or if you guys at home are trying to think of ways of how to turn him into top 10 hero, that is just another thing to really remember when thinking about it. So Dylan, with that little bit of background on Kaminari, his quirk, just you don't have to go through everything here, but like just start building this picture of a bigger, better top 10 Kaminari.
Yeah, so not to play all my cards at once. Um, so let's start with the AoE of his attack. So the way I kind of built this around is I painted him basically as an endeavor like hero, someone who is incredibly strong, and that's kind of how they force their way into being a top hero. Is they're incredibly strong and they could solve a lot of cases. including a lot of high profile cases. So think about this. I imagine he has a crew similar to Endeavor's crew. Now, I know in the anime we haven't really gone into like what Endeavor's like agency looks like, but for Kaminari, what I'm thinking is he has like kind of like an AoE ability. What if he had like a support crew that can come in and give like civilians and all that like rubber ponchos?
So we're just gonna have a bunch of like in the middle of a villain attack. He's just gonna run around and give out a
No, he doesn't.
no.
Like his support crew. Like whenever Endeavor goes in, obviously he's not shooting fire at like random civilians. They're getting evacuated. So as a part of that evacuation effort, you give people rubber ponchos too, so there's not a stray electricity shot to them.
I don't think it's a bad idea. Even in the
I
world
I
of My
know.
Hero Academia, I worry about the practicality of that. In a giant city, the practicality of giving everyone a rubber poncho, I do question. I think it's a great idea, but his whole agency would pretty much just be speed types then. It's a bunch of speed
Um
quirks.
Yeah, well, they would be speed quirks. They mostly focus probably on rescue efforts. Like the whole idea of it is they're trying to evacuate people out of the site. So similar to Endeavor, when Endeavor goes in, he's burning everything up. There really can't be anyone in that area. If there is, they're like literally they're toast, right?
Yeah.
I think Kaminari's is the same way, except it's even safer. Like if someone is in a building and common areas kind of going crazy with electricity outside, you probably don't have to worry about being shocked when you're on the inside of a building.
Mm.
But if there's random strangers kind of like on the streets or whatnot, you want to try to evacuate those people out. I think the rubber poncho is more of just like a fun calling card, and it's a way to like have them signal that here's something to put over you and comfort you, and you're safe because Kaminari is here.
So you be able to add on more, but the way you want to kind of pitch Kaminari is this power type with a large agency taking down big cases, and that's how he's going to be. He's going to be known for being powerful and getting the job done when he's needed. And that's how you're going to sell him, right?
That is initially yes.
All right. So my general pitch is turning him into the flashiest rescue hero possible. I think his and not even a rescue, but just kind of a general help hero that can help with so many different things because electricity is such a wide a range of things that you can help with that having obviously the agency, I definitely think an agency as being a top 10 hero is very much required, but having him still stick with his kind of bright flashy kind of approach, but having a focus on rescue because he can do small things to help boost his popularity, but just charging phones as you're walking by, kind of like how Hawks does the feathers things. He can shoot and charge everyone's phone as it's walking by, or he can just do it so that anyone around him is just automatically getting all their devices charged. Like just general things like that to help boost it. But also, if a flood is taking down the power to a city, he can probably by himself restore power to an entire city to help with evacuation. His electricity could probably destroy most rubble and help destroy or get to anyone that is needing there. On top of that, and with his long range communication, you can do some kind of almost boosting it to like a location or find something to boost out the radio waves of his headset and almost pick those back up if anyone in distress. So again, I'm kind of taking it far out, but turning him into a super flashy rescue hero with a big agency and focusing more on almost a genuine popularity and then probably smaller case solved of small electricity, even elevators being broke. Like the number of small things he could do that could just jump in and out. I think he could skyrocket his cases solved and genuine popularity really high. And then just a general good being he does with the society contribution of focusing on phone charging and all that. Like it's not the sexiest way, as like it's not an Endeavor type way to become a top 10 hero, but I'm assuming that's more of what like Wash, the support heroes, like I don't think they're out there fighting the biggest, baddest villains. That's what All Might and Endeavor have always been for. I think they're in there is that they're taking a bunch of smaller cases and really focusing on popularity.
So I think within the top 10 heroes, a lot of them are incredibly strong against villains. I think it's like weirdly swayed that way.
And I'm
But I
not
do like the
saying that he
I
wouldn't be able to take on villains as well, but he's not going to show up to the same fights that Endeavor is.
Yeah. So another thing I want to throw into yours that might help. I don't know how to apply this. Just take it and leave it, put it wherever you want.
All right.
He's really good at playing the electric guitar.
Oh yeah, I was kind of throwing that at the flashiness. Like he's just an like a much larger and flashier version of his current self, which is with the guitar. I think he even plays into the going overboard sometimes in short circuiting because kids would love that. Like we laugh every single time it happens in the show. Like everyone loves that gimmick as well. So if he does that sometimes when he's playing guitar on TV or like if he's doing some kind of interview and he goes into short circuit mode, people will love that too to help boost the general popularity because not only is he able to rescue and fight villains, but he's also super easy to get along with, which is why I've always liked Kaminari in the show, is that he just seems like a really chill dude in the class that gets along well with everyone, even Bakugo. So I definitely think that's something that why I wanted to focus on Jenny popularity, because that's pretty much why he stands out in Class 1A right now. He doesn't stand out because
Mhm.
he's super strong or that he does a lot. He pretty much stands out because of his popularity.
So I just want to kind of shift it over a little bit and go more to this powerful
All right.
Denki. So I guess maybe a good transition point is I wanted to talk about his dumb face, him being dumb essentially. All I'm gonna say is a really good way to cover that up is you just cover his face up. I mean, all you have to do really is give him a really cool mask. Like think about it this way. So a lot of like heroes, some of their popularity comes off of like the way that their hero like suits and like their appearance are. I think a really good way to do this is you kind of give him a cool mask. So think him fighting a incredibly powerful villain. He just uses all of his electricity on this villain. He goes all out on this villain and he's kind of left dumb afterwards. As long as the villain's done and he has like a really cool mask, he still looks awesome. Like he still looks totally fine. But what if I told you we wouldn't even have to deal with him short circuiting his brain?
Okay.
So his quirk hinges on him exceeding his wattage limit. So essentially what this means is it's not like if he goes 10% power constantly, he's going to short circuit his brain. It's if he goes over. Think about it like if you plug in too many things into an outlet and you're running a ton of electricity and you short a circuit and you have to go to like turn it
Yeah.
back on. So the way that he kind of gets a little bit better at this in the show is he has batteries essentially
Oh
that
yeah.
he fills up and whatnot to try to exceed that limit. So his current ability is about 1 million watts. I know you might be thinking that's a lot of watts. But what if I told you in the power reserve site of southern Australia, there's already power packs of batteries that exceed 100 megawatts. 1 megawatt equals 1 million watts.
Okay.
So with this, essentially we could 100 times his power feasibly
Wait, he doesn't get
already
to
today.
use electricity from him. He's just doing that to boost his power of his quirk.
No, yeah, he's using it to be able to exceed his wattage limit. And so he's going to short circuit a lot less. So this way, as long as we have bigger and bigger batteries for him to train on, he can essentially go as hard as he wants and not short circuit his brain.
Yeah,
So
but
we
look,
could eliminate this weakness.
okay, but Endeavor still overheats. Like Endeavor, the current number one hero, overheats when he uses his abilities too much. You cannot possibly tell me that Kaminari can get to a point where he doesn't over circuit in the biggest, baddest fights. Like if he's shown up to the same level of fights of as Endeavor, you gotta believe that he's gonna be reaching his limit every single time almost. So I agree, not as often. Like right now, he's pretty much short circuits on any little AoE attack. I agree that his range, his power, his AoE, all that can be boosted tenfold, a hundredfold of what it is right now. But saying that he'll never short circuit, I think, is a bit of a stretch. Seeing
No,
how Endeavor is.
but even if he does on some of those biggest baddest fights, I told you he could have a really cool mask to wear. That way he doesn't look dumb to the public. He still looks really cool. It like I don't think you understand.
What is the mask
Elect
gonna look like?
I don't know. I'm not a designer. I can't come up with that.
Like,
That's for like the hero
wouldn't it be
fashion
kind of
designers.
creepy for a full face mask just to be on like a hero? Like we don't really see that. We usually see most heroes' faces.
Well, no, you don't have
I
to. And
guess
also it could be
Kenya
a
and all
button.
that too.
It
Yeah.
it could be a button, like, maybe he has a thing of, like, I don't know, like an Iron Man type thing of, like, you know how, like, Iron Man's, like, helmet can, like, come on and off like that? Like, what if he's just chilling, he's about to go into battle, and when things get serious, he kind of like, puts his like, mask down, or he hits a button and it kind of goes over his face because it's like that's when the civilians know things are about to get serious. Is when Denki masks up.
Okay. I'm on board with that. So again, he's focusing mainly on. So switching back over to my end, I want to talk a little bit more about mine, and he's focusing mainly on hero rescue, general popularity, and all that. Not saying he can't evolve his combat styles. And how does he do that? Metal whips or something along that line, like a metal, or even like in a metal version of Aizawa's capture rope or something like that. Anything that he can use for something of a long range and then electrify it, almost like the shocker or whatever from Iron Man, the second Iron Man movie where they had the giant electricity whips. Something almost like that to give him a little bit of range. Because yes, he can shoot that and set up, but that's not going to be something you do instantly. So if someone's getting in your face, you pull these out electrified. So now you don't have to necessarily do that AoE attack. It's not going to be long enough to destroy buildings or really hurt people. It's a much more close combat, even if they're just giant metal rods. Anything that can kind of be electrified, and probably some metals that conduct even better. So whatever the highest conducting metal is, or lowest conducting, I don't know how that works for electricity. And then you just use those as weapons. I think that helps with this instead of hand to hand combat. It gives them kind of more an advantage to beat the shit out of villains too. So I saw you laughing at the whips. Is it just more because I said whips and you thought of that, or is it
No,
just
it's just silly. I like whips as like your main weapon are always incredibly silly. They're strong. They could be strong.
that's
Don't get
what
me wrong.
Midnight does?
Yeah, but yeah, it is also midnight.
Fair, fair.
So uh I think overall another thing I would add into this is that he's a really good strategist. Like I know like
Okay.
he's like kind of played up as like the dumb person, but especially in some of the later like episodes that we get to, he's actually really good in combat and knows kind of like how to like strategically like go about a fight and actually win it. And I think just him being a hero longer is going to make that increase tenfold. I can definitely imagine that even though I'm kind of pitching him as like a raw power kind of hero, I can imagine him coming up against villains and doing very ingenious things. Maybe this is like kind of baiting the villain around, having them like run around like an area and then slowly start to put out like metal plates, and then before long, it's like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I place all these metal plates that are gonna conduct my electricity to them, and you're already trapped in kind of my web of, like, electricity."
That
So
makes
I
sense.
think that really adds into it too, and I could definitely see him as being that because like, even though, like, I see him as, like, a very, like, clear comparison between him and Endeavor, basic element, I guess, like electricity, fire, just raw power on each. I also think he has the smarts to back him up.
No, yeah. I mean, we've definitely seen like even like in the school briefs and stuff like that. Like he's not the smartest though. I mean, I think he can definitely with a tactician. You don't have to be school smart next there should be a tactician, but I don't give him too much credit for that. And I think maybe we'll see more of that kind of strategy side from him right now. So I definitely still think even with your idea of just kind of looking through it that I don't know if I'd quite give him that heads up because with a raw power type, they're usually raw power type because they don't have much strategy. So I think the two kind of counteract. What you're building is a better version of Endeavor, and
Yes.
I think that's a little bit of a stretch for Kaminari. Like, are you seeing Kaminari as potential 1, 2, 3? Like, take Deku,
Well,
Todoroki, Baku out of the picture. In the current top 10, the one you're building, does he beat Endeavor? Is he the number one hero?
I think he could. I think he actually
Really?
could. I think he could. I think it's really tough because like at that point, I would see it like a battle of the elements. I'm not sure which one would win out, but I think it could. I think he totally could. Electricity is incredibly powerful, and it's also incredibly fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, we can't deny that it's literally flashy and cool.
All right, but can like now we're just comparing to Endeavor at this point? Like, can he fly? Like, Endeavor can just jump out of a thing and fly. Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's maybe his biggest downfall in terms of being a top hero is he
limited
can't
mobility.
he has limited mobility. I think that's a big thing, and I can't really think of a lot of like ways to have him be as mobile as some of the top heroes. So like even like Mirko, right? She's a rabbit. Like rabbits inherently are fast and move around really fast. Or Endeavor, he shoots his fire. I think it's really tough when you don't have a mobility quirk and you don't have a quirk that's like overpowered to
Yeah,
have
but
good
that's
mobility.
that's where support items come in. I mean, we see
Mhm.
Wash. I can't imagine Wash has incredible mobility. We've seen
Well,
Crust.
well, okay, wait. Listen. You don't know Wash's
I'm not even
abilities.
attacking Wash. I'm not even
You don't
attacking
know the
Wash.
extent of Wash's abilities, is what I'm saying. Though you can't say I assume this washing machine hero doesn't have good
That he can't
mobility
fly.
when you
I'm
don't know.
assuming a washing machine can't fly. My bad.
You
But
don't know
Crust,
that. You don't know
Crust.
that.
Okay, Crust. We know it's a very similar one to Kirishima, assuming he can't fly. A support hero
Mhm.
maybe has some kind of support item that allows him to move quickly, which is where it come into Kaminari with helping out your case. I mean, literally in the um horse races or whatever they're called from the school festival, the yeah, the horse races or the horse battles or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um, we see that why am I blanking on her name right now? The support item girl, always like done a bunch of stuff for Deku.
Hatsume.
Hatsume. Hatsume. She had a version of floating like boots that allowed them to fly short times in that. I definitely think by the time he gets out of UA in that, Hatsume is going to be one of the best support designers in the world at that
Yeah,
point
I have it.
and can create some kind of flying boots or something that allows to use electricity to blast him off the ground or
Yeah, no,
something
I
like
have
that.
it. I have it. It's easy.
All right.
What is the one thing that goes hand in hand with electricity?
I don't know.
Magnetism.
Yeah.
He is going to float around like Magneto.
But how?
I don't know. It's electricity. You can figure it out. I don't know. You just get some metal and you get some electricity and it's magnetic, right?
All
I'm
right.
not a, I, okay. I'm not a scientist here, but I think it lines up.
That thought did go through my head earlier, like somehow using magnets on his boot to float. I didn't have a thought out plan, but let's just say Hatsume figures it out. Like that's
Yeah.
just gonna how we're gonna write off. Whenever we're
Yep.
doing a path to the top video, if we can't answer anything, the answer is just going to be Hatsume will figure it out because realistically, in
Yes.
this world, she probably would find a way. She's building literal mechs as a 15-year-old. So by the time she's 25, I'm assuming she'll be able to find a way to make Kaminari fly.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. And I'm glad that you have so much faith in Kaminari that you're making him a top like the top hero. I'm like, okay, I want to make him like a top 6 or 7. Like, yes, the power types are generally the top 1 through 5. And like he'll be right outside of that because he's a more of a support and he'll have that. So I'm glad you have that much faith in them. I just definitely think that, especially in a world of quirks like Edge Shot and even Hawks and stuff like that, Hawks is, even though he doesn't have like electricity, he can't do as much. I still think of Hawks as a grown-up version of Kaminari without electricity quirk. Like he's that kind of the cool vibe. He's very fun. He's easy. He's very able to do a lot of the small like general popularity things. I like he's able to help people upstairs and save people and save animals and all that super easily. That I see Kaminari doing it. So I built Kaminari after Hawks a little bit with that cool guy kind of vibe. Except I just see Hawks as a better version of it with the limitations that Kaminari has on his quirk. It would require him to have support items to really do a lot outside of AoE or hand to hand combat, while Hawks can do basically all of it, but I think both of them struggle against power types unless it's close combat. So
Yeah.
I think both approaches were very different. I'm kind of surprised that you went with a literal better version of Endeavor. Not how I thought this was going to go, but I think, I mean, we picked Kaminari because we both thought it'd be an easy one. Like, I think both pitches work in this universe, and I definitely think 1, 2, and 3 ends up being Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki in whatever order you want to pick. But I definitely think out of Class 1A, Kaminari is one of the next closest based off his quirk,
Yeah.
whatever way you want to do it, of making it in the top 10 because it is so diverse, it is so powerful, and it is flashy, which is also so important and something that all three of the other ones in Class 1A have.
Yeah,
So,
I think like realistically speaking, even outside of trying to make him a top 10 hero, I think in terms of the class, he could easily be the fourth strongest. Which I know it sounds like like fourth is like fourth, but like for this class, it's
Yeah,
incredibly
it's the
stacked.
top three
Which
heroes for the next 30 years, and then everyone else is pretty much how Class 1A is right now.
yeah, and I think him as fourth, like I mean, it could totally make sense. I feel like he has that ability to be that strong, especially with like him trying to learn to be more strategic too. So
Yeah, I think this was great though. I mean, is there anything else, any last selling points you want to do? And then another question I want to ask is, do we want to have people pick which version they like better after this? Do we want to make this a competition, Dylan? Or are
yeah,
we
I
just
mean,
gonna put it out there and say we're both great?
I no, I think both of ours are totally valid, but I definitely would like to hear what other people have to think if they want the power type Denki or if they want the cool guy support Denki.
Yeah. So we'll put polls out wherever we can. You can do down in the comments below. Even if you want to leave a review on the podcast platform, I'll go look at that for the next episode we do. And whenever we kind of do these episodes, we'll always pick who did the last winner. So let us know which one you thought. Again, Dylan, I loved your idea as well. I think both of them were super fun. This was a super fun episode to do. But I think that's about going to wrap up how think we can make Denki Kaminari a top 10 hero. Thank you all so much for listening. Next week, we are going to be doing chapter, 97 of? I don't even know.
97, 98? The newest
97,
vigilantes. The
whatever the
newest
newest
vigilantes.
Vigilantes is. Then we have one or two other special episodes until we start the season 4 recap, the season 5 primer, and then season 5. We are about 2 months away from season 5 being here, so we are so excited. We hope you guys are just excited as us. Again, if we haven't stated already, we'll be going back to doing weekly reviews every single episode when it comes out. Saturday morning, me and Dylan will wake up and do a recap, and that'll be replacing all these special episodes and all that. So anything like this would be either an additional YouTube video, or we'll pick this back up after the season ends when we're waiting for season 6. So thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a 5-star review, all that. We will see you back here next week on the Class 1A podcast. See you guys later.